I'd like to show you how to install a couple of extensions to your Visual Studio Code program. So I have Visual Studio Code running here, and I have a simple HTML file typed up and shown here. And if I go over to the left-hand side, these icons, the bottom one of this top group is the extensions icon. And if I click on that, it'll open a panel and I can search. Now I've already installed the two extensions that I would recommend that you install, but you can find these by just typing in the search box here. So I could type in W3C validation, or I could type in code spell checker. So the one is called W3C Web Validator. The other one is called Code Spell Checker. Now what these two are going to do is the Web Validator I can use to check the validity of my HTML code. So it is going to check to make sure that my starting and ending tags match, that I've spelled the names in the tags correctly, that the attributes are appropriate for my tags, all those kinds of things. And it will tell me if there's a problem. The code spell checker is basically just a spell checker, but it recognizes terms that are used by the HTML and CSS code, so it will not mark those as incorrect spelling. So I would recommend that you install these. Basically what you're going to do is when you find it, you're going to type, like I said, W3C Web Validator. You can see right here that it comes up. I already have it installed, so there's just a little gear here, but if you have not yet installed it, there'll just be a little blue button that says install, and you just need to click on it. It'll self-install. It just does it real easily, so you can do that with the two, with the Web Validator and with the spell checker. So once you have them installed, I'm going to go back here to my code, and I'm just going to close that up, close up the navigation or Explorer panel there. So right now I have code that is correct, and down at the bottom you'll see there's a little button here that has been added to the bar that says W3C validation. So if I click on that, it will check my file, and at the moment everything is valid, so it comes up and tells me that it's valid. If I had some errors in the file, and I'm going to show you what would happen. So for example, let's suppose that I had left off this little closing bracket on my body tag here. You'll notice the text following it does turn red, but I might not notice that or know what it's about. If I click on the W3C validation, it is going to add more to what's going on here. It tells me there are 3 errors and 1 warning. If I mouse over where the little squiggly lines have been added, it tells me that attribute open bracket H1 is not serializable. What does that mean? H0 is not allowed on the element body at this point. That might seem a little weird. I can click on the view problem, and it gives me again a little more detail. The Web Validator is telling me that there is a stray end tag for H1. In other words, it's complaining about this end tag, and the reason it's complaining about the end tag is because there should not be an end tag for H1 until I end the tag, or close the body tag. So that's typical where you have one small error that generates several errors because the computer is going along expecting to find the closing of this body, and it found all this stuff in here that it didn't think belonged. So if I close that up, you'll notice it generated that closing body tag, but I already have one, so I need to make sure that I select that and delete it. And if I clear all my errors and validate again. Now it's coming up valid. I'm going to close this little thing here too. So the validation is good. The spell checker works pretty similarly. It's going to look for just basically misspelled words. You'll notice that as soon as I change the spelling on this word here, it underlined it. Put a little light bulb up there, and I can hover over that, and it says unknown word from C-Spell. I can again click on the view problem if you want to see more, but it's just basically telling me the same thing, that the C-Spell checker does not recognize that word, so I realize that that is an invalid word. So that's basically how those work. Let's see, if I were to misspell, let me just try one other thing here. If I were to misspell the name of a tag, so title, if I take out the T in the middle, that's tile. That is a correct word, but it's not a correct HTML tag. So you'll notice that the spell checker doesn't have a problem with it. But if I click on the validation does recognize. It says it's not valid, 6 errors. Okay. And I'm going to go up here where the first little squiggle is. It's generally good idea to go up and find the first squiggle, because the first error typically cascades into multiple errors because the computer is trying to recover from that error and it's just running into more problems. So the element head is missing a required instance of title. So in other words, it doesn't recognize this as title. That right there should give you a clue. Tile is not an allowed element for the body. There's a stray end tag for title. In other words, it's just giving you every error that it can possibly think of. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to give me that most important message there. If I go down here, and there are some other squiggles, if I were to look at this one first, it's telling me that I'm ending the head tag, stray end tag head, meaning I didn't expect to see this soon. So something is missing inside the head section. If I go look at this error, the start of the tag body was seen, but an element of the same type was already open. Now that's an interesting error. Not quite sure why that is. But anyway, we know that I can go back here, fix this title tag, and revalidate, and everything comes up nice. So that is just kind of a quick overview of using those extensions. So I would recommend that you add them to your project and do validate your HTML before you turn it in.